Hello, Jason Bates here, owner of Electrum Financial, a mortgage broker located right here in beautiful Cave Creek, Arizona, where a mortgage is not a flip of the coin. So if you're looking to purchase or need to refinance, I would like to be your broker of choice as I have access to the lowest rates at the lowest costs in Arizona. And if you don't believe me, call me. Here is this week's mortgage market at a glance. The housing market is heating and cooling at the same time, depending on the data in question and who you trust on YouTube. So, who's telling the truth? Actually, maybe everyone. According to Home Price Appreciation Market, the market is on fire. Duh. FHFA, and Case-Shiller, two of the main home price reports I follow, both updated this week. They differ slightly in their historical measurements, but both are in agreement that year-over-year price gains are as high as they've been in a long, long time. In fact, record highs for FHFA. Things are moving in the other direction for home sales. This week's pending home sales release showed a decline of more than 10%, which is back to pre-pandemic levels. As shown in the previous charts, on the one hand, the housing market is hot due to surging prices, and on the other, it's cooling off based on declining sales. The two can actually coexist due to inventory. Inventory is a big thing, or lack thereof. In addition to the obvious limitations it places on home sales, tight inventory can also force prices up as more buyers compete for fewer properties. It's never been tighter than what it is right now. The inventory situation may mean that prices remain more resilient in the current housing cycle despite recent surge in interest rates, something I've talked about in previous videos, so be sure to check them out. Even then, past examples of rate spikes have only had moderate impacts on housing. Using the same home sales data from the previous slide, I've highlighted previous rate spikes so you can see the impact. And here are the prices. This is the same FHFA home price data, but this chart is zoomed in to show you just at a more granular level. There was a big rate spike at the end of 2016 that had no discernible effect on prices. This is notable because that rate spike was fueled by economic optimism as opposed to 2013's rate spike, which happened after the Fed said they would begin decreasing their rate-friendly bond buying program. 2018 was somewhat similar as the Fed was continuing to tighten monetary policy and raise short-term interest rates. I wasn't a big fan of the Fed raising short-term rates in 2018 as I felt they were raising them way too fast. A case could be made that the current rate spike shares some similarities with 2016. The path of the 10-year Treasury yields, which is a benchmark for longer-term rates like mortgages, has largely traced pandemic progress and economic recovery hopes. Yields, aka rates, began rising late last summer as vaccine trials showed promising results and economic data began to improve. Rates spiked more quickly in the new year as vaccine logistics ramped up and COVID relief legislation was passed. Fiscal spending hurts rates both due to its positive impact for the economy, and remember, stronger economy supports higher rates, and the implication of more U.S. Treasury insurance, more Treasury supply equals lower bond prices, equals higher bond yields, equals higher rates. Now, in one of my previous videos, I discussed the disconnect between mortgage rates and Treasury yields. The connection is now largely reestablished, and it once again makes sense to consider the Treasury trends as the best early indication of potential shifts in momentum. With that in mind, the current zone of 1.6 to 1.75 in the 10-year Treasury yields is important. There has been two solid bounces at near 1.75, but not enough of a recovery to guarantee a momentum shift. If 1.75% is decisively broken and the unfriendly trend remains intact, it would contribute to the red scenario shown here. The green scenario is also a possibility, but it would take some unforeseen shock, something like COVID variant that doesn't respond to vaccines or rapid realization of weaker post-COVID economy. Now, history suggests it's very much in the playbook. Each overlay is exactly the same size and covers exactly 1.9%. A safe bet would be to assume at least 4% for a 30-year fixed based on typical distance between the two over time. Things can always change in the future, but if it's this week's economic data is any indication, negative shocks would be a tall order for sure. Here are a few highlights from last week. Consumer confidence surged well above its previous post-COVID highs. Now, the most widely followed measurement of the manufacturing sector, ISM Purchasing Managers Index, hit its best level since 1983. Hard to believe. And the big jobs report was strong on several levels. Even though there were still 9 million jobs missing from pre-COVID levels, the economy added close to 1 million last month alone. Now, the average work week increased 34.9 hours. That may not sound like a lot to those working full-time, but before COVID, it never went higher than 34.6. Those 0.3 extra hours equate to more than 1 million additional jobs that could come back into the labor force right this very moment. With all this good news for the economy, it's a rising rate environment until further notice. If we don't see a negative turn in of events for the economy, rates will eventually run out of steam for other reasons. But that could take some time, and the overall rate spike could rival the worst past examples by the time it fully runs its course. This week is light in terms of scheduled data and events, but it provides an important opportunity for rate watchers to observe the underlying momentum in the bond market. A strong defense of the 1.75% ceiling in the 10-year yield would go a long way towards suggesting a period of consolidation or leveling of rates as opposed to the more recent relentless moves higher. So there you have this week's mortgage market at a glance. If you'd like to know more, reach out to me. I'd like to meet you, and that's for sure. Thanks for watching, and if you're looking to purchase or refinance a home in Arizona, I would like to be your broker of choice. Until next time, take care and stay safe.